sure that maybe in less than 24 hours, we will know the answer to your question.
Well, you said you're absolutely sure within 24 hours merong appointed Secretary of Health.
The Department of Health welcomes the designation of Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere as officer in charge.
Pero yung mga totoong experts, we are not groomed to be media savvy because most of the scientists, their life are in the laboratory. So there's a process by which the DOH should be allowed to speak up.
BA.5 from the Omicron family is emerging to be the worst subvariant yet. That's in terms of transmissibility, with nations posting surges in cases the past few weeks. Here at home, is BA.5 already infecting much more than what's being reported? And does it present with new symptoms? The answers in tonight's episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to The Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. Kasama rin po natin online Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. She's there in Manila at the Philippine Star offices. And Lucy Cruz Valdez is joining us in Quezon City. Chiefs, good evening.
Evening.
Hello, good evening.
Ami, one of our favorite guests here, Undersecretary Vergere, now OIC of the Department of Health.
Oo nga. Di nagkatotoo nga yung sinabi ni kahit papano, no?
Well, not quite. Iba pa rin.
Well, OIC lang, no?
I was having that conversation kanina with Yusek Vergere as well as Ted Herbosa, and Yusek Ted Herbosa was actually explaining, the different stages. OIC, iba pa yan sa acting secretary. And syempre, of course, one of the questions, it begs the question for a lot of people, why not permanent secretary? Wala pa rin tayo sa permanent secretary, and certainly iba pa yun sa OIC.
Oo nga Anyway, sinabi rin ng DOJ na mukhang si Secretary Lotilla pwedeng mag-take over sa Department of Energy, no? Isa pa yun.
Mukhang malinaw yung opinion, and I think there was also a statement from the corporation where he was a director. They've already announced that he has in fact resigned his independent directorship. Mukhang doon na papunta, being appointed as Energy Secretary Popo Lotilla. In the meantime, let's go now to our chiefs tonight. A lawmaker wants the production of the controversial Polymer bills stopped. He joins us now, Senator Aquilino Pimentel III. Sir, welcome to the Chief, Senator Pimentel.
Good evening,
Thank you,
Good evening, Senator.
Thank you, Robbie, Ami, Lucy, and I think we're missing...
Si Ed po. Ed will join us maya-maya. Okay.
Yan ang convenience of online systems. Thank you for inviting me.
No, of course. And then, Senator, if you don't mind, we introduced you in the context of a proposal of yours. We will get to that later. But we haven't seen you in such a long time. And obviously, the last time you were here, ibang-iba ang climate, ibang-iba ang konteksto. Pwede po ba, umpisahan muna natin sa Senado mismo. Kamusta po ba ang namumuong Kongreso, especially where you sit at the upper chamber? How do you see it emerging in terms of the supermajority, the alliances for the majority, and certainly, of course, we want to ask about what is your prognosis for the opposition?
In the Senate, there will really be super majority, the real meaning of the word super. It could possibly be 22 versus 2. So it will not be. It's really an imbalanced situation. But I will belong to the group of 2. I'm willing to belong to that group. Kami na ni Senator Risa Ontiveros. So we will have to prepare to be able to hold our own against 22.
And of course, it's also a supermajority at the lower house. What does all of this mean for checks and balances?
For as long as there is a real minority, there will be check. there will be checks and balances. That is the concern of Senator Risa Ontiveros. Sabi niya kahit na dalawa lang kami for as long as it's a true minority. So we intend to be a true minority.
Yun nga eh.
And since we intend to be a true minority, this is going to be real hard work. Kasi the stated role or the accepted role of the minority is to check the majority. What does that mean? Anong sabihin ng check? We audit, we test, we audit their work, we test their ideas, we insist that the rules be followed. So we have to do our part, no? So lots of work po yan for the two of us.
Yes, you were telling me earlier before the show began, no, that even though the numbers are intrinsically not that important as long as you have a genuine minority or opposition, you still admit that the work is going to be harder if it's just the two of you. Can you explain again to us what makes it difficult if the numbers are just too small, no? Which is the case right now if it just ends up with you and Senator Risa?
Since our role is to test the ideas of the majority, their proposals, therefore the two of us must go over all the bills and measures and resolutions filed in the Senate. This could number in the thousands, maybe around 2,000. So theoretically speaking, if we will divide the workload, we should be ready to study 1,000 measures each, no? so that we can competently ask questions, test the ideas of the proposals, and I'm not even mentioning yet the yearly budget, no? So that's
true.
The budget bill is, lagay mo na, it's equal to 100 measures, 100 separate measures.
Yeah, but they're saying that in the past, I mean, they were able to do it even with Senator Laila De Lima in jail, no? The opposition remained strong even if really totally outnumbered. So is this something that you say you're used to already?
Now, I'm used to studying, but this will be even greater effort to study ang gagawin po namin. So, anyway, ready po kami ni Senator Risa. What is important is teamwork. No, we have to act like a team. We have to be clear about what our principles are, what is our commonality, and what are the issues which will also divide us. Because there might be issues which will also divide. Dalawa na lang nga kami. We do not want to be divided. So we should understand each other na beforehand. Okay, when this issue comes, alam ko your position is diametrically opposed to mine. Huwag tayong magmahay-mahay, huwag tayong mag-away tungkol dyan. Beforehand, we already know that. So we anticipate. So it's a matter of teamwork and good planning and time management on the part of the minority. Lucy, you mentioned the minority groups before. But this will be if dalawa lang po kami, this will really be the smallest minority, the most minority of the minorities.
Senator, tatanong ko nga yun paano yan? Diba, kailangan ng minority presence in all the committees? Paano yun? Paano yan? Pwede ba kayo magpadala lang ng representative nyo among your staff to attend all those hearings? Ang dami-dami nun, tuloy-tuloy yan.
To attend the hearings, of course we will be assisted by our staff. Pero it's still better that we attend personally, or we be present, no? Personally. We will just have to do our best how to do this. Kaya the minority leader actually is a member of all the committees, and then under Senate rules, all the committees have minority representation. O, the minority, kung dalawa lang kayo, the minority leader is automatically already a member of the committee. So the minority representation is the other one.
Yeah.
So member lahat si minority leader, member na rin si second minority member sa lahat. Ganoon ang mangyayari
O
dyan.
hindi nga kailangan yung physical presence nyo. Obviously, hindi kaya. Pwede
Hindi
yung
kaya.
staff nyo lang. No?
Obviously hindi kaya, but the staff will have to be present in 100% of the of the hearings. But we will try our best kasi that is our role. That is the purpose of the minority. Even during the committee level, we should be able to insist that the rules be followed. We should be able to insist that the contrary opinions be allowed to be aired. We should be there to ask questions to test the logic or the sense of the proposals.
But on the other hand, sinasabi ng ibang senator na hindi naman daw, the Senate daw has a history of not being completely for any administration naman. Na actually, mas ang tradition dyan mga independent republic yung every senator except for a few na talagang loyalist sa mga kung sino yung nakaupo, You think that's a valid argument na hindi magiging rubber stamp ang Senate, even if it's a super majority?
That is a valid argument. The Senate will not be a rubber stamp. Pero it is our role naman, it's the role of the minority to make sure. So, kasi pag sinabi po natin that they are free to speak their mind, they can state a contrary position to the rest of their fellow majority members. But we will not know Kami sa minority, we do not know when this will happen. Who is that senator who will be siding with us on a per measure basis? Hindi namin alam. So we should be the ones present to make sure that there is this representation insisting rules be followed. Yung katulad sinabi ko, testing their ideas, defending the expression of contrary opinions.
Senator, and to that point, kanina, napakaigting nung qualifier nyo Sinabi nyo, as long as real minority, kahit dalawa lang yan. But the reality is, di ba, parang minority is officially kung sino yung hindi bumoto for the majority. Tama po ba yung pagkakaintindi ko? Therefore, meron po bang anggulo o agam-agam na yung dalawa will not turn out to be just a minority of two. However you want to qualify that. It's possible that you might be a minority of 4 or 5, but not everyone will necessarily call that a real minority. In other words, even in choosing the minority leader, madadilute yung dalawang real minority. And certainly we've seen this at the lower house, hindi po ba?
Hindi, ayaw kong pangunahan yon. Of course, if the two senators who are declaring themselves to be minority now, kami ni Senator Risa yon, will be joined by 2 or 3 other senators in good faith that they want to be minority members, then we welcome that. Gusto natin yun. And we always assume good faith. Hindi namin sila, syempre, hindi natin pagdududahan yun. But actions speak louder than words. So makikita din po natin yun in due time.
Kaya lang, ang problema nga po sa in due time is by the time we see the actions, it's too late. Diba? I mean, I'm not speaking of the Senate. We saw this really in play at the lower house. Diba? Where the opposition is not the minority. In fact, karaming opposition sumama sa supermajority. Pagkatapos yung mga nagsabing, kami minority, nagiging 2-3 paksyon, and then at the end of the day, it just comes out to paramihan ng boto, not only in the supermajority, but even in choosing a minority leader.
Yeah, totoo yan. Kung mangyari man yan, then we have to live with the situation. But the point is, there will still be 2 of us who would want to play the role of the minority. So, we will get our chance to be a member of a committee. Ganun yun, i-rotate siyempre yan. And then on the floor of the Senate, we can, although we are not the minority leader, we will still play the role of the minority leader or the minority and insist that on the Senate rules, that we be allowed to speak our mind. We will be allowed to state our position.
Ano bang feelers from the magkapatid na Cayetano? Because yun yung originally people were looking to, people were speculating that maybe they will join the minority because they have not expressed any, support for either side anyway. So what are the chances na magma-minority sila?
Wala pang feedback, Lucy, pero ako personally I welcome the two Cayetanos if they will join the minority group. Dalawang abogado po yan. Dalawang experienced lawmakers po yan, legislators. Dalawang magagaling, very articulate na mga lawmakers. So we welcome them and I hope they join us.
Sige sir, shift na ako dun sa intro ng show namin about the polymer bills na 1,000 peso polymer bills na gusto nyong pa-imbestigahan. Could you elaborate on your proposal for a pro? Bakit gusto nyong pa-imbestigahan?
Well, ako nagulat kasi ako nung introduction ng polymer notes na 1,000 peso polymer. Ang ibig sabihin pala ng polymer, o medyo high-tech yung salitang polymer, pero in common language, ang ibig pala sabihin niya plastic. Plastic o plastic material. So, nagulat ako doon na gumagaya daw tayo sa Australia or even sa EU. Okay, dahil mas tatagal daw. So, maganda yung mga reason But then, nung pinag-aaralan ko yung subject matter, mas tatagal daw siya pag alagaan mo. Hindi ganoon din yun. Even the existing 1,000 peso note or the other notes made of paper plus abaka, cotton and abaka, tatagal yan pag alagaan natin, di ba? That's logical. So kung ganun lang pala, ang point nila itatagal, hindi naman nila, they did not divulge at the start that tatagal kung aalagaan mo. Tapos now we hear of some do's and don'ts, some rules in handling it. You can sabi, do not fold it, do not crumple it. Para namang in real life, sa totoong buhay, alam naman natin na pera yan tinatransact yan pinapasa sa iba't ibang tao yan iba't ibang level of care tayo so definitely makakrumple yan, definitely mafo-fold yan. Hindi naman lahat tayo, una sa lahat, hindi lahat may pitaka o wallet, and then sasabihin nila ngayon na palitan mo yung pitaka mo o wallet mo, gawin mong mas mahaba para kasya siya, hindi siya mafo-fold. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Di kami ni Robbie, magka-clutch bag na kami. Hindi na kami mag-wallet, magmula ngayon, clutch bag. Kasi hindi na pwede. So that's why the
Di bagay ka, Robbie, sir.
the more I study the subject, given the initial reasoning, and then now the subsequent pronouncements, plus the complaints that we have been getting, sabi ko, it's impractical. And then one of the reasons sinabi nila, because this is a polymer 1,000 peso note is more difficult to counterfeit. And yet we are replacing, sabi nila, this 1,000 peso banknote, which is also relatively new, di ba? Meron dating design, pinalitan yan, with the most advanced features. Ito papalitan daw nila na 1,000 peso banknote na paper-based and abaka-based has a very advanced features making it difficult to counterfeit. So, and then the reason is magpo-polymer tayo to make it more difficult to counterfeit. So I mean, I'm not so convinced. That's why may resolution to conduct a hearing in aid of legislation. Actually, hearing, hindi po to investigation, actually hearing in aid of legislation, which I filed as one of my first 10 measures, so July 4 pa ito na-file, even before that viral, yung may nag-complain na about the rejection of the attempt to pay with the 1,000, that went viral. Pero naka-file na po ako ng resolution noon kasi July 4 pa po na-file ko ito. Ang mga questions ko ay, because it's in aid of legislation, okay? What are the rules in changing the design of our banknotes? Kasi maraming ding reklamo na yung heroes natin pinalitan with the eagle, the image of the eagle. Okay, so wow. And then what is the cost? What is the cost in when we keep on replacing the design as well as the material of the banknotes? What is the procedure? Sinong involved? Who are involved in the process? How come ngayon, pagdating nitong polymer, we receive complaints. Heroes have been replaced by the eagle. So yung tanong, hindi ba brainstorming yan? Hindi ba yan lumabas doon sa small group or bigger group discussion while they were planning to change the design? Hindi ba lumabas yan? Mga ganun. So everything po.
Senator,
a hearing in aid of legislation.
Tapa, Senator, malinaw po yan. And doon po yung tanong ko. Because this is, as you said, in aid of legislation, first basic question, the current laws, the current rules are silent on that, on the questions that you've raised. And two, para lang po malinaw, ibig sabihin, ang objective nitong hearing nito is, wala nang atrasan to. This is all about moving forward with clearer policies.
Yes. Oo. Ito, sa research ko, nakita ko na it is the monetary board which approves the design and then submitted to the office of the president approves. Then yun na yun. Yun na yun. So tatanungin ngayon natin sila, is this really just a small group of people or do you have did you at the BSP or monetary board level, did you even consult other government agencies like the Historical Commission, etc. So ganon. Ngayon, kung ang posibleng sagot, hindi na. So as policymakers, ang tanong namin, should we now ensure that the process involves opinions from others, even siguro some businessmen or bankers or some yung end users mismo, the end users of the banknotes, the common people who will use our banknotes. So dapat mayroong consultative process kasi when you tell them, we will have new banknotes, but you cannot fold them. Siyempre, there is now a backlash, di ba? I mean, kung beforehand nagkonsulta na kayo, sasabihin ng mga tao, hindi po practical yan. Hindi po practical. Sabihin lang, hindi, tatagal ito paglinisan mo. I mean, paliguan ninyo yung parang damp cloth daw, linisan. Sasabihin ng taong bayan, hindi po practical. Wala pong naglilinis ng pera. I don't know, kung ginaya...
Money laundering.
Pero Senator, sabihin din ng mga tao, practical ba yan? Pati ba naman peso bill, idadaan pa sa ganyang klaseng proseso na napakahaba at magpa-public concern?
Swift, too short or too exclusive. And then, ang other side yan is sobrang tagal naman. If you require a law, hindi na rin practical yan. So, we will find out in the hearing kung ano yung practical. Pero ako ito opinion ko itong polymer note na 1,000 pesos with all these rules na linabas nila and then yung reaction ng taong bayan, makikita mo na parang hindi ito nagkonsulta sa regular tao na gagamit ng pera. Yeah, that's my conclusion.
Hindi naman ipapatigil, Senator. You're not proposing na itigil yung printing kasi marami pa yatang ipiprint na mga banknotes
Hindi, pag-isipan ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas po ito. Kasi nakasulat din doon sa resolution ko, have there been complaints? So take into account the complaints. Ang pagkakaalam ko, they are going to release in tranches. So, and they plan to release 500 million pieces. Ang dami nun, ha? Ang dami nun. So, pwede pa, may chance pa tayo, may chance pa ang BSP to modify their decision, lalo na kung sa research nila, sa feedback process, ay negative ang dumarating sa kanila at lumalabas na impractical. Actually, meron pang nag-text sa akin itetest ko pa ito, hindi ko pa nagagawa. Gagawin ko siguro sa opisina in front of my staff. Pag punasan mo daw yan gamitan mo daw ng white tissue, gano'n mo, may yung ink pupunta sa white tissue. So,
talaga.
yeah, somebody texted to me, but sabi ko, I will try it, but I will have to siguro videotape it in front of my staff.
Senator, I mean, I'm sure just the fact na nag-viral to, a lot of people do have these same questions. Pero at the same time, mas malaking problema ng mga tao is, kahit nga 1,000, hindi ako nakakita, kay papel yan o ano, kay wallet ko o yung clutch bag ni Edlingaw, wala namang laman na 1,000 peso bill dun eh. So dun tayo dun sa yung other concerns of people that do affect their actual spending power right now. You also have a proposal to suspend excise tax, value-add tax on fuel. What are your thoughts and how else can we help our people in these days na sobrang taas na talaga ng buhay, presyo ng buhay?
Tama yung point mo, Robbie, na parang malayo sa bituka yung design ng pera Kaya nga, bago ko muna pakawalan ng BSP, ito ang appeal ko sa kanila Ang isa sa problema natin ngayon, inflation. Inflation. That is now assigned actually to the BSP to fight inflation. Kaya ang tanong ko sa BSP, maybe you're spending too much time on design. Designing our banknotes, the materials on our banknotes. Yung time ninyo, expertise ninyo, ilagay na lang ninyo to fight inflation. Ano yung mga naisip ninyong mga measures in order to fight inflation. O ngayon, ako naman doon naman sa pagtaas ng ating pamasahe, lahat ng gastusin na attributable na sinasabi nila ang ugat nito ay pagtaas ng presyo ng petroleum products, gasolina, diesel, kerosene. So, ang ginawa ko, nag-file ako ng one of my first 10 measures yan na yung bill that when the price of crude oil based on the Dubai prices reaches $80 per barrel, sabi ko automatically suspend the excise tax on fuel and then automatically suspend the coverage of VAT on the fuel transactions. So, yun ang nasa bill ko. Ngayon, alam ko na sabi na ni President Marcos, he is not agreeable to that. Pero final ko pa rin yun so that just in case magbago ang isip, it's already there. Andiyan na yung draft. Andiyan na yung draft ng bill. It's a matter of just, looking at the draft, perfecting it, and then telling your supermajority in both houses of Congress to support such a measure.
Pero suspension lang ba ang pwedeng gawin dyan? Or kasi sa lower house, I think yung yung proposed amendment nila has to do with unbundling, na dapat daw lagyan ng provision to require gas or oil companies to unbundle para malaman daw yung true price ng oil. What do you think of that?
Correct. So, okay, let's enumerate the possibilities. So, una sa lahat, yung aking bill on the suspension. Dalawang klaseng suspension, excise tax and VAT, the VAT. Yung binanggit ni Lucci, which is unbundling. But this is more for transparency. Bakit mo ina-unbundle? So that yung nakikita mo mga items ng cost, doon mo pwede mong isa-isahin yun. Pwede mong isa-isahin. Maybe you will put a cap on some of the items in the cost, or maybe you will You will also abolish or some of the smaller government taxes or government mandated expenditure. So dalawa. So suspend, itemize. You can even abolish, tanggalin ang excise tax, tanggalin sa VAT coverage ang fuel transactions. Pwede rin po yun. Apat, pwede mong babaan ang rate. Because excise tax is pesos per barrel. VAT is percentage, 12%. So there are 4 things that we can do.
Baka nag-veer na toward regulation and away from deregulation.
Hindi. If you look at it, because there is VAT and there is excise tax. You can do 3 things dito na lang sa dalawang ito, di ba? Lower the rate, suspend, or abolish. Abolish is like lowering it to zero. Di ba? You lower the rate to zero, it's like abolishing it.
Okay, Senator Coco Pimentel. Senator, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you for this chat. Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
And we'll start up another conversation after a quick break. Stay right there. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back, the Chiefs here on One News. Ako po si Robbie Alampay, kasama pa rin po natin Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5, and now kasama na rin po natin here in the studio, Ed Lingao of One News.
Late na naman ako.
Late ka na.
Nabanggit pa kayong clutch bag ko. Wala na clutch bag.
Kanina, nabanggit kasi ni Senator Coco Pimentel.
Napaka-70s naman yung reference mo, clutch bag. Clutch bag.
Sabi niya, kung nasa wallet ni Robbie o nasa clutch bag ni Ed, sabi niya gano'n. Napakalinaw. Anyway, i-ano na lang natin. We're also talking now with infectious disease expert Ron Jean Solante, and we're speaking with him because genome sequencing has tracked a number of the B.5 subvariant cases nationwide. What do we know about this Omicron subvariant? Is it more transmissible than any other COVID strains? Again, Dr. Solante joins us. Maraming salamat po, Dr. Solante.
Hi, Robbie, Ed, Lucy, and Ame. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc.
Well, this is the one of the highly transmissible variant, no? And in fact, pag nakikita natin sa mga earlier data from scientists, this is more than 50% more transmissible than the BA2. So this is now the dominant variant in most countries. Like the WHO the other day reported that it has been already in 83 countries. Yung isa niya, yung kakambal niya, the B4, already in 73 countries now. So the character of this variant is that, one, higher breakthrough infections, even if you are vaccinated, especially those who only received the primary vaccine series. But the other problem there is the reinfection. You will have a higher reinfection with BA5 because even previous infection, even with BA1 infection, you are not protected with this BA5.
Doc, just for reference, kasi when you say 50% more infectious than BA2, well, actually people don't really remember how infectious BA2 is. Eh. Pero siguro, para may baseline tayo, yung original COVID variant, how infectious is this compared to that, siguro?
Okay, Ed, that's a good question. Ipaghambing na lang natin yung reproduction number, no?
Sige, Doc.
Di ba yun yung batayan natin, no? The reproduction number of the BA5 is 18, estimated to be 18.
Okay.
Yung mga una nating mga the Wuhan strain is only like 6. Then the original Omicron was like 10 or 12. This is 18. So if you look at infectious disease, kung anong maihambing natin dito, it's measles. So that's how transmissible this virus is.
But that's transmissibility. What about yung symptoms niya?
Yes, the symptoms are mostly mild to moderate, and in fact, in most countries, no, na nadaanan na nito na US, South Africa, India, it did not cause hospitalization. So their hospitalization rate was stable, despite the number of people being infected, despite the number of individuals being symptomatic.
Mild to moderate yan for the vaccinated, di ba? Kasi
Yes.
ang sinasabi ngayon parang nag-evolve na into a completely different pathogen neto kasi it's evading vaccine immunity and natural immunity. Is that a valid observation?
Yes, that's a valid observation, but ang problema dito, problem now is when you have a heavily mutated variant, even if you develop antibody before with the natural infection, let's say BA1, that antibody will not protect you against BA5.
Yun
So,
na nga, kaya kailangan na natin, di ba yun ang sinasabi, kaya daw the big pharma is developing completely new vaccines to fight all these subvariants of Omicron kasi iba na nga daw itong pathogen na ito.
Yeah, correct. It's a different phase, it's a different virus that we're facing now, and that's why Moderna and Pfizer are already in the phase 3 of their Omicron variant booster. So this booster, mayroong mga preliminary data that it can have cross protection. It was intended for the BA2, but when they tested it with BA4 and BA5, it has some cross protection with the BA4 and BA5, and that's the plan now of US and European countries that they will be giving the booster using this Omicron variant booster next fall. So more or less,
Paano tayo,
Well,
Dok? Wala pa sa atin yung bagong yan. I mean, how
Well,
effective will the current boosters be against this BA.5?
Okay, there are also data, kasi yung mga dadaan ng bansa, wala pa naman itong mga Omicron variant booster, no? So it will, our protection will still be there against severe infection, pero talagang magkakasymptom ka. No, magkakasymptom ka. That's the bottom line there. You should not be surprised kung nabakunahan ka na, napag-booster ka na, you still have the symptoms, but you're safe. You're safe against severe infection.
So anong protection natin na? Masking, pwede na ba yun?
Of course, face mask pa rin tayo. We cannot allow lifting the mask mandate at this point in time na tumataas ang mga kaso natin, no? And that's one thing that will be the last one to go out to be in terms of relaxing our policies.
Now, in the meantime, Doc, of course, the big context. Same question as
Paano
Luchi.
yung schools? Kasi mag-face-to-face na yan
Yes.
sa November. Abot ba tayo doon na?
Kaya nga,
Ang dami nun, Doc.
So that's why it's important, no, at this point in time, children should already be vaccinated, and kailangan natin. And there are also suggestions that schools will provide them with the vaccine. So halimbawa, pag nandun na sa paralan, that can also be an added way of encouraging the children to be getting the vaccine.
Doc, but when you say vaccine, you're referring, of course, to the old vaccines, no? And this will
Yes.
still give some sort of protection against severe COVID-19, whatever the variant or subvariant is.
Yes, I'm talking about the mRNA vaccine, the virus vector vaccine, because we don't have much data about the Chinese vaccines against this Omicron variant or sublineages.
Well, Doc, let me be a bit biased here. I'm trying to look for a silver lining here. Kasi we've been through BA2, BA2.12.2, BA4, BA5, and as we go down the subvariants, apparently it's getting more infectious, but at the same time, the severity of the symptoms, they're not going up. They're not getting
Yes.
worse.
Yes.
Is it possible to look at this as parang us being on the way or on the road closer to endemicity or normalization?
No,
Hindi pa rin.
that's not what I look at this. No, in fact, most scientists doesn't look at this as something like endemic. We can have that approach in terms of endemicity, but the current outlook now is that we will have symptoms, but our hospitalization rate will still be very low because this will just cause mild symptoms. Okay, now when we move to an endemicity, that's one area na. Ang endemicity kasi, Ed, kasama doon ang pagtaas ng mga kaso. If you have cases like a 10%, 12% positivity rate, mukhang hindi na acceptable yan as endemic. So you really have to treat that as something na more than an endemic.
So yung gamutan na lang, kung hindi natin maiwasan, you're not saying it's inevitable naman na magkakahawaan tayong lahat. You're not saying that, ha?
Hindi naman, kasi ang nangyari ngayon, nakikita natin dito, no, yung sinasabi natin 15% are getting the booster, but the current estimate is, I think, more than 15% or 15 million are already getting the booster. Marami kasing nagbo-booster na hindi officially declared na nagpa-booster. So I would say, mataas-taas na ang boosted population natin, but again, we have to target the 70% boosted population because there are other mutations. There are like what is reported now in India, the BA2. Oh, the BA2.75. No, that's another variant of concern. Earlier data, WHO is also closely monitoring this because most likely it is again highly transmissible, but will not cause more severe infection.
Pero ano nga yung magiging treatment? Halimbawa, nahawa. Kasi I'm hearing, I know a lot of people who are getting infected now, no? And they are vaccinated, boosted. Anong dapat gawin? Can they treat themselves with, paracetamol lang, Biogesic? Anong dapat gawin?
Ganito yan, so you have to prioritize when we treat patients with because we already have available antivirals, no? The molnupiravir and the Paxlovid, which will be very important. Yes, effective, and that will be a very important armamentarium when we are treating a case. No? So ganito ang magiging scenario yan. If you are not in the vulnerable population, you are young, without comorbidities, and you have the mild, it's okay, you have to isolate. But when you are in the vulnerable population and you have mild symptoms, you are a candidate for this treatment para hindi mag-severe. So that protecting the vulnerable will be the priority by monitoring them, testing them in order for you, the intention of testing is treating them. No? Ganun ang intention yan. Pero yung mga younger population, they can just isolate and complete the isolation. Paracetamol, fluids, and rest.
Doc, could you qualify lang yung what you said na, nandyan na rin ang antivirals. Bukod sa bakuna, nandyan na rin antivirals, molnupiravir, Paxlovid. Because kanina, Vice President Sara Duterte, Education Secretary Sara Duterte, also said that, look, this is also where our confidence is coming from for face-to-face classes. We said, kailangan may bakuna, andyan ang bakuna, and we said, kailangan nandyan na rin ang antivirals, ang mga gamot, nandyan na rin. But could you qualify that for molnupiravir, Paxlovid, when we say nandito na? What is it in terms of affordability and accessibility?
Well, there is accessibility, but the problem there is that the price, no? Because mahal. So I think part of the goal now is how the government can subsidize such drugs that are available, especially for those who cannot afford. No? That's another story. So these are available, these are accessible, but who can buy this? That's another question because only those who really can afford like molnupiravir, it will cost you around 8,000 to 10,000.
Wow.
And the Paxlovid will cost you like 12,000. So that's not ordinary price. Ordinary Filipino cannot afford that. No?
Yung generics.
Yeah, the generic Paxlovid, we have that now, Paxlovid. So it will also cost that much, no? Between 10 to 12,000.
And there are prescription drugs, no? You have to go to a hospital before you can access those medicines.
Yes, correct. I mean, because they are under EUA. So anything that is under EUA, there should be prescription, and it can only be accessed in hospitals who has purchased those medications.
So mahal magkasakit, ha?
Doc, I mean, this moves us to a question of, ano ba yung strategy, ano ba yung policy, and so on. And so if you don't mind, I just want to ask you, kasi ngayon, ang isang malaking big story, Undersecretary Vergere being appointed as OIC. And that's been welcomed by a lot of people. I think I even saw you speaking kanina sa isang balita namin. But it also still begs the question, bakit hindi permanent at bakit wala pa ring permanent? I just want to ask, ano po ang limitation ng OIC and what is a more urgent need for a permanent appointment, especially if we're waiting for some strategic positions and some direction on what I would presume to be, longer term needs of the public health sector?
Yung function ng OIC is more or less the same as that when you are designated as the SOH, especially yung mga critical areas of assigning critical people doon sa mga programs, doon sa mga itong mga areas ng Department of Health. No? It's just that yung term mo is that you're just an OIC, and anytime if the President will have someone to replace you, then you can be out and somebody will replace you.
But theoretically, for example, if, let's say, this matter of antiviral still being under EUA, and let's say somebody is saying, we need a more aggressive position and policy with regards to, EUA pa ba ito, or do we make it commercially available to bring down price and so on. In the 2 weeks, for example, na OIC si Yusek Vergere, can she push through with that, or do we have to wait for a permanent appointment to have something like that in place?
She can push for the pharmaceuticals to file for a CPR, for the vaccines to file for a CPR. No? So it's the initiative of the pharmaceuticals to file this. No? Pwede naman niyang i-encourage yan para lang at least it can also be available commercially. No? So nandiyan naman ang FDA to evaluate that, and I think yun ang isa sa mga tinitingnan natin na with the pandemic exit, vaccine should have a PCR so that it will be available, including these antivirals and monoclonal antibodies.
Pero Doc, I think to Robbie's point, it's really difficult for anybody to plan medium to long term if, according to your vision, if you don't have any sense of tenure.
Yes, definitely, Ed. No, that's a very important observation because kung gagawa ka ng plano, hindi mo alam kung yung plano mo hanggang kailan.
Lang.
Oo. So, more or less, maggagawa ka na ng short-term plans, no? But I think, hopefully, they can resolve that and appoint the permanent. Pwede naman siyang maging permanent kung makita nilang maganda ang performance. So, that will be part of the process also.
Doc, maiba lang. Yung dengue siya, pinag-uusapan din ngayon kung dapat daw bang i-consider giving that to kids on account of the rising number of dengue cases. What do you think about that?
Well, I would just like to make this clarification, Lucy, no? Kasi talagang nailagay sa out of context yung statement ko on that, no? So I did not make a recommendation that dengue should be used, no? Ang sinabi ko, Department of Health should review. Titingnan uli kung ano ba ang value ng dengue vaccine as part of our strategy for controlling dengue, and that includes dengue, no? So, tingnan natin ano ba ang recent data on effectiveness and safety the fact that this vaccine has been used for around 20 countries now, including some neighboring countries. So there could be more data to present na ito, safe to, ito, effective. As long as meron tayong tamang guideline on how to use it and where to use it. Importante yan. Para hindi na maulit yung mga nakita natin before. And there are countries in Europe and US, they're also using it. Okay naman, walang problema. So those are just options. Kung ayaw ng dengue, there are also other vaccines that are dengue vaccines that are available. No? So just a vision of looking at the totality of the importance of vaccine as part of the strategy to control dengue infection.
Okay.
Pero do you think there's a vaccine hesitancy that exists when it comes to that?
Yes. Ang problema kasi sa dengue this vaccine has already been stigmatized, no? That's one. So talagang mahirap yan i-introduce sa atin. Pangalawa, I don't think Sanofi will reintroduce that in our country kasi meron pa sila mga legal battles ngayon, no? So that's out of the topic na. Now, ang problema, ang ano ngayon is we need a dengue vaccine. So we have to explore other options of available dengue vaccines, not just dengue vaccine.
Okay. Dr. Ron Jean Solante, sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you and
Thank
stay
you,
safe.
Doc.
And that's it for the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News, all sides, all the time.